Forum. Welcome to the meeting of the Eastern Community Complex. Begin with the confirmation of the agenda.
That the board adopts the agenda for the meeting of June 11th, 2025.
Mover and seconder. Member, all those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? No delegations. The approval of the previous minutes.
That the board approves the minutes of the May 14th, 2025 meeting of the East Elgin Community Conference.
Mover and seconder. Member Rahi and Member Barber. Any omissions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? As carried, thank you. Item 6, action item 6.1, Director of Public Works from the Township of Malahide. Report on the tender award. We have a resolution.
That report EECC 12-25 entitled Tender Award EECC Parking Lot Reconstruction be received for information, and that the board accept the low bid submitted by Melrose Paving Company Limited in the amount of $747,326.24, excluding HST, for the reconstruction of the EECC parking lot, including provisional items 1 and 2, in accordance with the tender documents. And that the board authorize the mayor and clerk of the Township of Malahide to execute the documents.
Mover and seconder. Member DeRosiers and Member Leach. Mr. Cotton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Three of the board. As was referenced in the proposed resolutions here, we closed the tender for the paving of the parking lot here. We did receive some very favorable results compared to what we were kind of expecting about a year ago. You may note that we're looking at completing the full lot. So everything that's out there that's paved right now would be replaced. There'll be some minor curb repairs done where required. And all of this, well within the budget, almost 100 grand under. So it is our recommendation. I know we had made those provisional items that we did not have to follow through with the provisional items 1 and 2. However, based on this favorable pricing, we would recommend that we get all that paving done under this one contract and execute this agreement with Melrose Paving. They're out of Mississauga. We did have our reference checks, very favorable. They seem to be well done with all the other work that they've done. So we are recommending that we go ahead and execute this agreement and get this parking lot paved.
Thank you.
Any questions? I will gladly answer.
Member Support. Member Woodner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm here to Jason. Jason, what kind of a guarantee or warranty is going to be applied to this parking lot?
Pretty much none. Like most parking lot, most asphalt paving jobs like this, you get your 1 year, but that would be it. It's not like a 5-year guarantee or anything like that.
No, some of our roads are 2-year only, so the same.
Yeah, no, typically for asphalt, it is most of the time is 1 year. So that is what was in this for park.
Thank you.
Member Barber.
To Jason, any necessary underground work needed on the existing gravel parking lot? And is that included?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we didn't explore anything under the underground in the gravel lot. We did all the videoing of everything within the actual paved areas. That includes, this tender price includes the bit of repairs to the existing storm drains. It also includes addition of sub drainage, which is one of the major reasons for failure of this lot as it is. So that's all included in that tender price. That work will be completed by Melrose Paving.
Member Leach.
Thank you, Chair. Through to Jason. If there's cost overruns, how are they accounted for?
Through you, Mr. Chair, any cost overruns like you're talking as far as quantities or additional works or anything like that. Typically, we would handle anything like that as just as a change order through the scope of the regular management of the project. for instance, if there was additional little touch-up work or whatever that we wanted to have done while contractors were on site, we would just negotiate a price with them if it seems reasonable. Typically, that would be something staff would just negotiate, especially in a case like this where we are well within budget. We kind of have some wiggle room to look at those items.
Thank you.
Member DeSozier?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jason, has Malahide ever used Melrose Paving before?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, we have not. That is one of the reasons why we did go after the reference checks. They've done a lot of work more around the GTA, which was kind of surprising that they want to come this far, but all the checks that we had done has been very, very good, and everybody seems to be satisfied with their work, their professionalism, and the quality of the work that they stand behind it. So.
Follow-up question, do we have a timeline of when we're expecting to do this work?
So the tender document specified basically the month of August. Now as we kind of talking with Susie, that's one of the slower times around here, so there's a couple things with respect to that. We've also left provision in there that they're gonna have to give us traffic control plans so we can maintain access in and out of the site. They will have to stage it in a manner that you can't just rip up everything and then leave it as a disaster area and then pave it all. So they're kind of be doing it in sections, but we're gonna coordinate that with the operations staff here just to make sure that we have as minimal impact as possible.
Member Whitner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Jason again, the striping on the parking lot, is that included, or is that something we have to do after?
No, this tender price did include line painting in the design. I'm not sure, it wasn't in the board report, but in the initial report, probably from last fall, we had a conceptual design drawing. Susie's got it right here. And it'll basically, based on that layout of parking spaces, they will go ahead and do that as their final task.
Okay, just to follow up, like, yeah, I'll think of the asphalt we're putting down.
I believe we're talking, I'd have to double check, I think it is 2 inches of HL8 and then 1.5 inches of HL3, so you're basically about 4 inches of asphalt. 3.5 to 4 inches.
4 inches is good, thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Thank you. Congratulations, level parking lot. Item 6.1B, Manager of Parks and Recreation, resolution.
That report, Recreation 11-25, draft recognition policies we received for information, and that the board provide direction upon amendments or adoption of the proposed draft recognition policies.
Mover and seconder. Member Barbara and member co-chair Shigeri.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think Andy and I may share in this report a wee bit. So through you, Mr. Chair, to the board, at the meeting, the board meeting of May 14th, staff were directed to develop recognition policies. So the report before you this evening presents 2 draft recognition policies for review and consideration by the board. In addition, staff were directed to offer to host a recognition event. And the board was also planning to prepare a congratulatory letter to recognize a local athlete. This discussion was had with the family to both of these items, and certainly not meaning to speak for the family, but through discussion, we were very appreciative, knew the intention was very good, but we're very supportive of perhaps waiting until a recognition policy was in place. So again, very appreciative of the offer, but had declined the recognition at his time. So I guess if we jump into the policies here, the first policy maybe I'd like to chat about is the EECC athletic recognition policy for events. So it's the policies are broken up into a two-part. So one basically talks about all the recognition events that the board could consider, and then recognition with regard to physical items in the building. So the events policy is again broken into three further options. So the first option is considering the development and creation of an EECC Sports Hall of Recognition or Sports Hall of Fame, however the board, if you would choose to go this option, would like to identify this. So these events would typically be held biannually. They'd be permanent recognition in typically a common area. The board can certainly recommend locations in the facility within the EECC for permanent recognition of athletes. So these would be nomination based. It's recommended that a subcommittee be struck to review nominations and recommend induction. We're recommending within this policy to include a modest budget of $5,000 for a biannual event. So events would basically be held if there were a minimum of 3 individuals or inductees to be recognized. It's recommended to start with maybe a small wine and cheese event. Some different communities have expanded into larger gala community, larger community scale events. I've had experience with both, and both are they just feel good. They're good community events. So that's one option. There's some criteria to digest perhaps for feedback in there, and some different procedural items in there as well. So that would be sort of your permanent sports hall of recognition we could host here at the ECC. So the next option within this events policy speaks to athletic excellence awards. So these are awards that could be hosted at the start of a regularly scheduled board meeting annually. So you can capture those accomplishments of individuals, teams, coaches, volunteers, builders of sport that have gained some recognition, brought some real accomplishments and pride to the EECC through that year. Silver stick teams, horseshoe champions, what have you, anyone who's sort of been affiliated with the EECC can be recognized formally through a certificate, handshake, introduction at a board meeting, and that would have very low cost but high reward, recognizing all sorts of athletes. Those folks may not end up on a sports hall of recognition, but would certainly, be recognized by the board annually. So the next option in here too is to capture, I guess what we could call the one-off. So the EECC Athletic Excellence Community Recognition Event. So this is where this part of the policy would address exceptional achievements warranting recognition outside of this policy. So you have a PWHL championship, a Stanley Cup, again, a big international accomplishment that doesn't fit in the regular schedule of the either annual excellence awards or your biannual sports hall of recognition. But at the board's discretion, we could say, okay, we're going to host an event here, however that would like to be for the board. So that just kind of gives it gives 3 options for recognition of local athletes there for consideration. All are nomination based. There's some draft nomination forms. We're looking to digitize this, make this a very user-friendly experience should the board wish to proceed, so that it certainly isn't overwhelming. Our user groups and volunteers spend so much time and energy in contributing to their sport behind the scenes. Those are quite often the same folks we see nominating other people, so we kind of want to make it seamless. So that's for consideration there. The second part of the policy, like I mentioned before, to break it up into physical items, and in the absence of a policy in the past, it's great to be discussing this now. So this policy with the EECC Athletic Recognition Policy for banners, special recognition items, and trophy cases is really more of a discretionary policy, but it still establishes guidelines for this display of physical items. So we've currently been working closely with user groups to have the banners reinstalled, discussing trophy cases, and discussing the creation of this policy. So this is a very positive step forward, and I thank the board for your your motivation and encouragement to make sure that we have this in place. So this policy can also include a grandfather clause. So any items that the board that are currently installed that the board would like to see remain, we could also add a clause in that they remain in place until they're in disrepair or need to be removed for whatever reason. So this really helps us when we're maintaining the aesthetic of the building, just trying to maintain our standard operations, gives the user groups clear expectations about use of the facility, and helps us all work together to know what's expected and how to recognize good folks. So overall, I do appreciate the effort of the board in providing any feedback. It's a living document. I don't believe there's probably, as alluded to in the report, there's not likely the urgency, but it certainly is timely. And we've got the momentum to consider developing these. And yeah, I'm happy to amend, edit, revise, accept feedback to meet the expectations of the board and to provide guidance for future implementation. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Maybe I don't know if Andy has anything to add.
No, perfect. Perfect overview.
Okay, thank you. Members, Member Barber.
Thank you, to Susie. I think your draft is well written. Recognition of the past and the future potential recipients is certainly something to seriously consider and keep in a fair and equitable manner. I think that the document speaks to that. And personally, I'd like to see us go forward on this. Yes, the policy will probably have to be tweaked as we go along, as things changes or as opinions change, but it's a good first step, and it's a way to honor those people that are selected. Thank you.
Member Serna.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Who is going to be the determining factor of who gets selected or not? Like you're talking about a committee that's going to choose. Is that gonna be the board that chooses?
Through you, so the intention is that the board will appoint a committee when we have not a sufficient amount of nominations for you to consider. And
For
it would
you
be
to
of your
consider.
board
For
members.
you to consider, are you meaning the board?
The board.
Consider
Yeah, so
From the nomination.
with a minimal of 3 people, if the entire board wants to sit on it, it's fine. But I think our intention is we'd like to address it in closed session, and that generally lends itself to a smaller group. And of the board, a subcommittee that would review these and make decisions. And certainly that committee would have the ability to report up if they were seeking exemptions to the policy, but I think that committee would have final decision making. The subcommittee itself would have final decision making on the one policy. The banners and the other policy, it's something now that staff are already kind of internally managing. So our intention is that staff would continue to manage and work with the user groups on that policy.
Okay, so my point is the board now becomes an expert as to judging who becomes good enough to be honored and who isn't. We all have that expertise now. Correct.
Through you, Mr. Chair, hopefully it can help, just add to that, Member Cerna, is that the criteria hopefully will take the guesswork out of that. So as long as the nomination form, is filled out completely, they check the boxes. There's a scoring matrix that'll be used by the evaluation committee, so as long as folks who are nominated make the minimum score, there really is, you don't have to be Googling, looking for all the information should be presented to you so that you don't have to be the researchers. And these evaluation committees I've been part of in the past, it's all prepared for you. You have your criteria, you've got your scoring matrix, it's checkbox and a number at the bottom.
So it's all done for you.
It would be it'd be pretty easy to,
Brain dead,
well,
what you said.
it's, we're
So-
trying to make the user experience,
Right, okay.
yeah, pretty easy, right?
Now, there, if I may continue, you said there's an exemption for, exceptional people. That you don't have to go through this process?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to member Cerna, it would still come through the board for decision of that. So if there's a nomination that was time sensitive, that was outside of either a sports hall of recognition year or a different event, it would come to be presented to the board, say, hey, this accomplishment's pretty amazing. It fits within our policy. Is this something the board would like to consider? And then it'd be a go ahead.
So if you get drafted to the NHL, that would fall into that category?
So through you, Mr. Chair, so within the policy where that could fit, it could fit in many places too. So it could fit in the annual awards of excellence. So it could fall in just that invitation to a board meeting that we host annually. Or it could be one of those one-off community events. So the board could decide, someone's been drafted, this is pretty great. The board decides that we're gonna host a community event, then we go ahead and do that.
I think it would be pretty difficult for us to determine ahead of time in terms of the policy exactly who would get it, who would not get it. That's why the subcommittee exists, is to look at, the situation that's comes out, so.
So we only gotta wait till 25th June, I think.
Remember, right,
Through you, Mr. Chair, would the subcommittee be made out of board members or like only board members?
Yes.
I assume so.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes, certainly, and the one thing I wanted to add too is I think in the example there, on extraordinary events, I think the examples used were if you were part of like a Stanley Cup winning team. So it would be, it would be the type of thing where you want to throw a parade for these people. That's kind of the nature of the feel that you get when something extraordinary happens.
Well, if I may, as long as you're not drafted by Toronto.
I agree.
Okay.
What are the chances of a Stanley Cup?
No kidding.
That's a good one.
Are there any other comments? Member Shigera.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. So a couple of things. So well done. I think it's nice and clear and it has flexibility. So I think it already has all the elements I would have expected and based on previous policy that I've seen for these kinds of program. I agree. I think it's a living document like any policies. Once you apply it, we may tweak some things, but I don't have any specific suggestions. Right now, I think it's good as is. I particularly appreciate the confidentiality aspect. I know it is my experience that not everyone wants to be recognized, even though everybody thinks like, oh, this is a good idea, like this person should be recognized. And sometimes the person's like, nope, I'm fine. So I think nominations and even the process of nominating someone, a board member could be the nominator. So that's, but what is nice is that the process stays confidential until the committee has had a chance to review the suggestion, and B, until the nominee has had a chance to respond. So I think all the elements are there. The only difference I've seen in the past is that the committee could have external members, like so community members, if the board wanted to add some external input. But I think right now, the composition of the board is diverse enough that I think we would have a good subcommittee. If the board composition changes in the future under a different agreement, it may have an implication on this, so that's just a heads up. But right now, I would support it as is.
Anyone else? Member Desrosiers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I like the policy. When I brought this forward and we discussed it on May 14th, I did
acknowledge that, while this wasn't my expectation, if bringing this initiative forward did, address concerns that we didn't have a policy in place, I think it's a good thing regardless, but, the intent was to recognize one in particular. So my question for staff is, with the current policy we have and the requirement to have 3 nominations, we only have one potential nomination right now. Is it going to potentially sit for a while, or how is it going to affect that one specific one that was in the notice of motion that I brought forward?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Member DeRoche. So this policy is flexible, so it could certainly, that individual could be certainly recognized within this policy. So the sports hall of recognition, as it's written, is really recognizing folks. Like if you're thinking about a wall of fame, right, or a hall of fame, it's recognizing folks basically 3 years after retirement from your sport, capture all those awesome accomplishments during their career. So the awards of excellence could capture anything that's happened in the year. So an NHL draft, a Team Canada win, international championships. So those could be hosted by the board if the board wishes as early as September. When some seasons wrap up here, you could have recognition, even if those folks themselves aren't able to come, they could have a representative, a family member or whatnot. So there certainly are those mechanisms in place. And we do have the option of having those community recognition events, like Andy had alluded to. Those are oftentimes reserved for like a Stanley Cup win or something exceptional. However the board wants to interpret that is fine. But there is that mechanism that, that individual can certainly be recognized through the Athletic Excellence Awards. And those awards are kind of neat too, right? Because you see, and sorry if I'm going off, this is something I'm kind of passionate about too, right? So it's kind of great when you see the younger athletes there with older, kind of more accomplished mentors. Those having them all part of the same event is really kind of special. So they've won a silver stick and they see someone, or someone's being recognized, even if they're not there, through being drafted to a higher level in sport, or it's pretty neat. So that might be a nice pairing to consider for that recognition.
Members, you go.
Just to clarify, the only instance that we wait for a minimum of 3 is for the bigger event, for the Hall of Recognition.
Yes.
So the other 2, they could be one-offs because it could be on an annual basis. So if we only have one year, then we don't have to wait. And it sounds like the event also, it could be a one-off just for one person. We can suggest it if it passes the criteria. So I think, and I can see the Hall of Recognition is more of a, like you can wait, that's less time sensitive.
Thank you.
Member Barber.
Thank you. Just a quick comment. This will build over time. It'll probably start slow, and the people that have come before, they'll be screened and if applicable, find a place, but it just takes time, baby steps forward.
Member Whitner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a clarification, I guess. Let's say John Doe is recognized. And then 10 years down the road, John Doe gets himself in a jackpot where it's not acceptable to maybe have his name up. Is that able to be removed without, we're worried about threats of lawsuits? That would just be taking it down, but is that covered off in this document?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, to Member Whitner. Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's specific clauses in there that would indemnify the board from removal of any item without notification. So we certainly could do that.
Okay. Anyone else? Very good. Seem to have thought of many of the eventualities. That's good. Anyway, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the resolution? And that is carried unanimously. 6.2, are there any notices of motion? Any inquiries by members? Member Leach.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Susie. I noticed a announcement of, inline and roller skating, and I was wondering if you could elaborate on that.
Sure, through you, Mr. Chair, I should have had that all pulled up in front of me. It's so hot off the press. Thank you. So during the time that ice is out on Eastlink Arena, we're planning Wednesday and Friday, evening activities. So there'll be roller skating Wednesday and Friday evenings. And then there'll also be from 7 to 8, during, June through July. We start putting ice back in the start of August. And then we will also have ball hockey, so youth ball hockey for 10 to 14-year-olds and 14 plus. It'll be a shinny type of program, and then we'll build on that also based on feedback and usership. So we're encouraging folks to come out and participate. So maybe dust off your roller skates and join us. So yeah, hoping and again, thank you to the board for your support in delivering new programming. Thank you.
Any other inquiries? Also, Rosie, member Rosie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just out of curiosity, if a individual was interested in renting this space, like without the ice in it for a night, do you know the cost of that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to member DeRozier, I'd have to look at our rates and fees file. I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but we do have an established rate and fee. They can certainly call the admin office. We could have that for them.
Is it available online?
It should be. If not,
Can you send it to
give
me?
us a call.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no other inquiries, there's no closed session. Next meeting, we have a next meeting. Where is it called? The chair. Chair, I think it's called the chair, right? Very well. So we need a resolution to adjourn.
The board do now adjourn at 7:33.
Somewhere to go.
We were in check. Member Widner and member Desrosiers. All in favor? It's carried. I wasn't sure what you were.